The Zorvok Empire ruled more than 300 worlds. Their starships crossed entire galaxies. Their armies had defeated powerful civilizations. Their technology was so advanced that most species surrendered the moment a Zorvok fleet appeared in orbit. For centuries, nobody had challenged them. That was why Earth looked like a joke. Deep inside the massive command station orbiting a distant star, High Commander Varkon stared at the blue planet on a giant screen.
"Primitive," he said.
The other officers nodded. Earth had no planetary shields, no space fleet, no galactic alliances. Its people still used roads and airplanes. Compared to the Zorvok Empire, humans seemed thousands of years behind. "This may be the easiest planet we have ever conquered," Varkon said with confidence. The room filled with agreement. A simple mission was planned. A small elite team would travel to Earth first. They would study humans, build a hidden base, and prepare for a future invasion. The chosen landing zone appeared on the screen. Australia. More specifically, the Australian Outback. A huge empty region with very few people. Perfect for a secret operation. At least, that was what the aliens believed. 2 weeks later, a sleek Silver Scout ship entered Earth's atmosphere. Inside the ship, Commander Zek watched the red landscape below. Miles of dry land stretched in every direction. No large cities. No military bases. No signs of danger. Everything looked peaceful. "See," said one officer. "This mission will be easy." The ship landed smoothly in a remote area of the Outback. Dust rose into the air. The engines powered down. The alien soldiers grabbed their equipment and prepared to step onto Earth for the first time. The landing ramp slowly opened. Hot air rushed inside. Commander Zek walked down first. The bright sunlight hurt his eyes. The ground felt strange beneath his boots. For a moment, everything seemed perfect. Then he noticed a sign. It stood beside a dirt road a short distance away. Large letters were written across it. "Warning! Dangerous animals. Do not approach."
Zek stared at it.
"What kind of planet needs signs like this?" he asked. The soldiers laughed. Maybe humans were simply nervous creatures. After all, no animal could be dangerous to warriors of the Zorvok Empire. The team continued forward. 5 minutes later, one soldier screamed. Everyone turned. The soldier was hopping on one foot. "What happened?" shouted Zek. "Something bit me." The alien pointed at his leg. There was a small wound. Nothing else. The creature responsible had already disappeared. Medical scanners immediately activated. The results appeared. The officer studying the scans suddenly looked worried. "Commander." "What?" "The scanners show 27 different toxins." "What does that mean?" "It means we should probably not touch anything on this planet." The commander rolled his eyes. One small bite was hardly a problem. The mission continued. Then another problem appeared. A giant spider crawled across a soldier's shoulder. The soldier froze. The spider was bigger than his hand. Slowly, it climbed toward his helmet. The entire squad stared in horror. One nervous soldier pulled out a weapon. "Don't move." The spider moved. The soldier fired. A bright energy blast exploded into the ground. The spider vanished. Unfortunately, the explosion could be heard for miles. Silence followed. Then strange noises came from nearby bushes. Rustling. Movement. Heavy footsteps. The aliens raised their weapons. Something was approaching. The bushes shook violently. Out stepped a large animal. The soldiers had never seen a kangaroo before. The creature looked at them. They looked at it. Nobody moved. One officer checked a scanner. "What is it?" "I have no idea." The kangaroo scratched itself. Then it casually hopped away. The aliens relaxed. Several soldiers laughed nervously. Maybe Earth wasn't so dangerous after all. Then another sound echoed across the Outback. A deep growl. The scanners suddenly detected multiple life forms moving toward them.
Fast.
Very fast. Commander Zek's confidence began to disappear. "What now?" he asked. Nobody had an answer. For the next hour, the elite invasion force experienced something they had never experienced before.
Fear.
Every few minutes, another strange creature appeared. Some had sharp teeth. Some carried venom. Some moved faster than expected. Others simply looked terrifying. The aliens spent most of their time running. The carefully planned mission quickly turned into complete chaos. Dust covered their armor. Equipment broke. One soldier fell into a muddy waterhole. Another refused to leave the ship. Meanwhile, several miles away, a group of Australian locals noticed strange lights in the distance. A farmer looked toward the horizon. "Did you see that?" he asked. His friend nodded. "Probably tourists." Neither man looked concerned. Back at the landing site, Commander Zek sat inside the ship trying to write his first report. His uniform was dirty. His pride was damaged. His soldiers looked exhausted. Finally, he activated the communication system. Commander Zek reporting. The signal connected to Zorvok headquarters. A senior officer appeared on screen. "How is Earth?" Zek stared at him. For several seconds, he said nothing. Then he spoke. "We request an immediate reassessment of this planet." The officer laughed. "Already? You have only been there a few hours. You don't understand. What happened?" Zek looked around at his battered soldiers. One was removing spider webs from his armor. Another was checking for bites. A third was staring nervously out a window. The commander took a deep breath. "This planet is not normal." The officer smiled. "Stop exaggerating and complete your mission." The transmission ended. The screen went dark. Commander Zek slowly lowered his head. Outside, another strange animal noise echoed through the Outback. Nobody in the ship liked the sound of it. The commander walked toward a window and looked out across the endless Australian wilderness. The sun was beginning to set. Long shadows stretched across the red earth. Everything looked calm again. But now he knew better. Earth was hiding something. And Australia seemed determined to introduce it one terrifying surprise at a time. As darkness covered the Outback, Commander Zek asked a question that suddenly felt very important. If this is the safe part of Earth? He looked at the nervous faces around him. What does the dangerous part look like? No one answered. And for the first time in his military career, Commander Zek was not sure he wanted to know. The next morning, Commander Zek woke up after the worst night of his life. At least, that was how he described it. The Zorvok Empire trained its soldiers to survive harsh environments. They could endure frozen worlds, toxic atmospheres, and even radiation storms. Nothing in their training had prepared them for Australia. The night had been a disaster. Strange noises came from every direction. Something scratched the outside of the ship. Several soldiers claimed they saw glowing eyes in the darkness. One officer was certain a monster had been watching him through a window. Nobody slept well. As the first sunlight appeared over the Outback, the crew gathered inside the command room. Everyone looked tired. Commander Zek stood in front of a large display screen. Status report. Officer Terran stepped forward. 2 damaged scanners. Another officer raised a hand. 1 broken communication antenna. A third officer sighed. 3 soldiers refused to leave the ship. Commander Zek rubbed his forehead. This was supposed to be an elite military operation. Now it felt more like a survival camp. Before anyone could continue, an alarm suddenly sounded.
Beep, beep, beep.
Every soldier jumped. The sensor screen flashed red. "Movement detected," shouted a technician. The room instantly became tense. Commander Zek grabbed his weapon. "How many?" The technician checked the data. His expression became confused. "For life forms. Hostile. I don't know." The aliens rushed outside. Their weapons were ready. Their armor systems activated. The soldiers formed defensive positions around the ship. Dust blew across the open desert. The mysterious life forms were approaching from the east. Closer. Closer, closer. Then they appeared. A rusty pickup truck rolled over a small hill. The aliens stared. The truck slowly drove toward them. Inside were 4 humans. Nobody seemed afraid. Nobody appeared impressed. The truck stopped 20 meters away. The humans climbed out. The oldest man wore a wide hat and sunglasses. He looked at the massive alien ship. Then he looked at the armed soldiers. Then he smiled. "Morning." Commander Zek blinked. That was not the reaction he expected. The human pointed toward the ship. "Nice vehicle." The translator inside Zek's helmet converted the words. The The commander stared in disbelief. The human had just called an advanced interstellar spacecraft a vehicle. For several seconds, nobody spoke. Finally, Zek stepped forward. "I am Commander Zek of the mighty Zorvok Empire." The human nodded.
Good on ya, mate.
The translator struggled for a moment. Then, it simply displayed. Meaning unknown. Commander Zek frowned. "What does that mean?" The human shrugged. "No idea." The other humans laughed. The commander felt something strange. He was being mocked. And somehow the humans were doing it politely. Another human walked around the ship. He examined the landing gear. Then he pointed at a damaged section. "Looks broken." The alien engineer looked surprised. The human was correct. A small component had indeed been damaged during landing. The farmer scratched his chin. "I can probably fix that." The engineer nearly laughed. This primitive human thought he could repair alien technology. "Impossible," the engineer said. The farmer shrugged. "Suit yourself." 20 minutes later, the engineer was still unable to solve the problem. 30 minutes later, he finally accepted help. The human examined the damaged component. He looked at it for less than a minute. Then he picked up a tool from his truck. Clink, clink, clink. The system suddenly restarted. The engineer's jaw nearly fell off. "What did you do?" The farmer smiled. "I hit it." The engineer stared. "That's not a repair method." It worked. The engineer checked the system. Everything was functioning perfectly. To his horror, the human was right. Meanwhile, another strange event was happening. Several alien soldiers had gathered around a large cooler. One of the humans opened it. Inside were drinks.
Cold drinks.
The Outback heat had been exhausting. Even the aliens looked interested. One human handed a can to Commander Zek. "What is this?" "Drink." The commander scanned the liquid. No poison. No toxins. Nothing dangerous. Carefully, he took a sip. His eyes widened. It tasted surprisingly good. The humans laughed at his reaction. For the first time since arriving on Earth, Commander Zek felt slightly relaxed. Maybe these humans were not so bad. Then nature reminded everyone where they were. A powerful wind suddenly swept across the desert. Dust filled the air. The sky darkened. The farmers immediately looked serious. "Storm coming," one said. Commander Zek looked upward. The weather seemed normal. "Storm?" he asked. The farmer nodded. "A big one." The aliens checked their scanners. The readings instantly turned red. Commander Zek's confidence disappeared again. The approaching storm was enormous. Powerful winds raced across the Outback. Dust clouds stretched for miles. Visibility dropped rapidly. The humans moved fast. They secured equipment, closed vehicle doors, covered supplies. Everything happened with calm efficiency. The aliens panicked. Soldiers ran in every direction. Equipment blew across the desert. One officer chased a flying scanner for nearly half a kilometer. Another accidentally fell into a bush. The humans watched the chaos. One farmer shook his head. "They're not going to survive out here." The storm arrived minutes later. Wind hammered the ship. Dust struck the hull like bullets. Visibility vanished completely. Inside the command center, alarms screamed. Systems flashed warning messages. Several soldiers looked terrified. Commander Zek stared at the weather display. "This is insane." The farmer sitting nearby took another drink. "Nah." The commander looked at him. "This happens often?" "Pretty much." The aliens suddenly understood something important. The danger was not just the animals. It was not just the insects. It was not even the strange environment. The entire continent seemed designed to test survival. And somehow humans treated it like home. Hours later, the storm finally ended. The sky cleared. The sun returned. The humans prepared to leave. Before climbing into their truck, the old farmer looked back at Commander Zek. "You folks staying long?" The commander hesitated. For the first time since arriving, he honestly wasn't sure. The farmer smiled. "Good luck." Then the truck disappeared into the distance. The aliens watched it go. Silence filled the camp. Finally, one nervous soldier spoke. "Commander?" "Yes." "Are we sure we're invading the right planet?" Nobody laughed. Because deep down, every alien was beginning to wonder the exact same thing. And somewhere far beyond the camp, hidden in the endless Australian wilderness, something unseen was watching them. Something large, something fast, something that did not appear on any scanner. The real trouble had not arrived yet. The growl echoed across the outback. Then silence returned. No movement, no shadows, nothing. Inside the alien command center, nobody spoke. Commander Zek stared at the dark security screens. Every instinct told him something was wrong. Very wrong. The mysterious creature had destroyed one of their cameras. That should not have been possible. The camera was built with advanced military technology. It could survive extreme heat, storms, and even small explosions. Yet something in the darkness had crushed it effortlessly. The commander made a decision. Lock down the camp. Instantly, the base entered emergency mode. Energy barriers activated around the perimeter. Security drones filled the sky. Heavy weapons powered online. The soldiers prepared for an attack. Hours passed. Nothing happened. By sunrise, many aliens felt embarrassed. Maybe they had overreacted. Again, the creature had vanished. Again. And once again, there was no proof of what they had seen. Commander Zek hated that thought. But he had bigger problems. A communication alert suddenly appeared on the main screen. The signal came directly from the Zorvok Empire. His stomach tightened. The timing was terrible. The giant face of Fleet Admiral Korvok appeared. The admiral was one of the most feared commanders in the Empire. His fleets had conquered dozens of worlds. He did not enjoy bad news. Commander Zek. The voice was cold. Report. Zek stood straight. Sir, I strongly recommend delaying the invasion. The room became silent. Even the soldiers looked nervous. Nobody usually spoke to Admiral Korvok that way. The admiral narrowed his eyes. Explain. Zek took a deep breath. The environment is extremely hostile. Korvok looked unimpressed. So, there are dangerous life forms everywhere. So, the weather destroys equipment. So, Zek hesitated. There is also an unidentified creature operating near our camp. The admiral laughed. Actually laughed. Several officers behind him laughed too. Commander Zek felt his face burn with frustration. Commander, Korvok said, we are the Zorvok Empire. Yes, sir. We have conquered planets filled with monsters. Yes, sir. We have defeated civilizations stronger than humanity. Yes, sir. Yet you are afraid of wildlife. The communication room filled with laughter. Zek remained silent. Finally, Korvok stopped smiling. The invasion proceeds as planned. The commander felt dread. Sir, that is an order. The transmission ended. The screen went dark. Nobody moved. After several seconds, Officer Terran quietly spoke. They aren't listening, are they? Commander Zek shook his head.
No.
Far above Earth, 3 days later, hundreds of ships appeared. The sky itself seemed to crack open. Massive warships emerged from hyperspace. Destroyers, cruisers, carrier vessels, an entire invasion fleet. The Zorvok Empire had arrived. Inside the Outback camp, alarms immediately activated. The soldiers rushed outside. Commander Zek looked upward. His heart sank. The invasion fleet filled the sky. Thousands of smaller landing ships began descending toward Earth. Dust storms formed beneath their engines. The invasion had begun, and nobody in the fleet understood what they were walking into. At first, everything looked perfect. Landing zones were established across Australia. Military camps appeared everywhere. Advanced technology covered the desert. The fleet commanders felt pleased. Earth seemed weak, primitive, easy. Then Australia started fighting back. Not with weapons, not with armies, just by being Australia. The first disaster happened within hours. A transport vehicle stopped working. Engine failure. Engineers investigated. They discovered a large snake hiding inside the machinery. Nobody understood how it got there. The second disaster happened shortly after. A squad of soldiers disappeared during a routine patrol. An emergency search operation began. After 4 hours, they were found. The soldiers had become hopelessly lost, only 3 kilometers from their own base. The local Australians found this extremely funny. The third disaster was even worse. A supply depot was overrun, not by enemy soldiers, not by rebels, by birds. Hundreds of birds. The aliens had never seen emus before. The large flightless birds wandered directly into the camp. The soldiers attempted to remove them. The emus refused. A battle followed. Technically, it wasn't a battle. It was more like complete humiliation. The birds won. The story spread through the fleet within days. Soon, every soldier knew about the Great Emu Incident. The humans laughed so hard that videos of the event spread across social media. Millions watched. Nobody could believe an advanced alien army was losing arguments with birds. The disasters continued. Vehicles became stuck in sand. Communication towers collapsed during storms. Equipment overheated. Food storage systems failed. One officer accidentally touched a cactus. He spent 3 hours screaming. Commander Zek watched everything happen. Part of him felt frustrated. Another part felt relieved. At least now, everyone understood he had been telling the truth. Earth was dangerous, especially Australia. Then something even stranger happened. The mysterious creature returned. This time it appeared near one of the fleet's larger camps. Security cameras recorded it for nearly 6 seconds, long enough for hundreds of officers to see. The footage spread quickly.
The creature was massive.
Nearly twice the height of a soldier. Its body looked dark and metallic. Its eyes glowed faintly, and it moved with impossible speed. Fleet commanders immediately called an emergency meeting. The recording played repeatedly. Nobody recognized the creature. Nobody knew what it was. And nobody could explain how it kept avoiding their scanners. Admiral Korvac finally saw the footage himself. His confidence faded slightly. "Find it," he ordered. Search teams spread across the Outback. Drones filled the skies. Sensors scanned every kilometer. Nothing. The creature remained invisible, as if it were watching them from the shadows. Waiting.
Studying.
Learning. Commander Zek stared at the latest reports. A terrible feeling grew inside him. The creature was not acting like an animal. Animals did not destroy cameras. Animals did not avoid advanced sensors. Animals did not seem interested in military bases. Whatever this thing was, it was intelligent. That possibility frightened him more than anything else. Late that night, another alarm activated. A supply station nearly 50 kilometers away had suddenly gone offline. No communication. No survivors responding. Nothing. The last security image arrived seconds before the signal vanished. Commander Zek opened the file. The room became silent. There, standing in the darkness beyond the camp lights, was the mysterious creature. Watching. Waiting. And for the first time, it was clearly visible. But what terrified everyone was not its appearance. It was the object held in its hand. A piece of stolen Zorvok technology. The creature wasn't just observing them anymore. It was learning. And somewhere in the endless darkness of the Australian outback, something had just taken its first step toward war. The image from the destroyed supply station spread across the entire invasion fleet. Every officer had seen it. Every commander had questions. And nobody had answers. The mysterious figure stood at the edge of the camp, holding stolen Zorvok technology, as if it understood exactly what it was. That should have been impossible. Commander Zek stared at the image again. The creature's glowing eyes seemed almost intelligent. Almost human. Yet it clearly wasn't human. "What are you?" he whispered. No one in the room replied, because everyone wanted the same answer. The next morning, Admiral Korvac arrived personally. A massive command ship landed near the main base. Dust exploded into the air as thousands of soldiers gathered. Commander Zek watched the admiral step down from the landing ramp. Korvac looked angry. Very angry. 3 weeks into the invasion and almost nothing was going according to plan. The Empire expected victory. Instead, they had damaged equipment, confused soldiers, and endless embarrassing reports. The famous Zorvok military was becoming a joke. Korvac entered the command center immediately. "Show me everything." Hours passed. He reviewed footage, sensor logs, field reports, every piece of information they had collected. The more he learned, the less he liked. Finally, he sat down heavily. This makes no sense. Commander Zek nodded. Exactly. The admiral pointed toward the image of the mysterious figure. What do you think it is? Zek hesitated. Then he spoke honestly. I think it is watching us. The room became silent. Not because the statement sounded ridiculous, because everyone secretly agreed. That night, something happened. Something that changed everything. A long-range sensor station suddenly detected unusual energy readings. The signal came from deep inside the Australian outback, hundreds of kilometers away, far from any human city, far from civilization. The energy signature did not match any known Earth technology. It also did not match Sorbok technology. The readings were ancient, yet incredibly powerful. Commander Zek immediately organized an expedition. If answers existed, they would find them there. The journey lasted 2 days. A convoy of armored vehicles crossed endless desert. Red sand stretched to the horizon. The landscape seemed empty,
Silent. Dead.
but the aliens had learned not to trust appearances. Australia always hid surprises. On the second evening, the convoy reached the signal source. The discovery shocked everyone. Buried beneath a rocky canyon stood a giant metal structure. Half of it was hidden underground. The visible section alone was larger than a warship. Ancient symbols covered its surface. Dust and sand had concealed it for centuries, perhaps longer. Commander Zek stared in disbelief. This was here the entire time? Officer Terran scanned the structure. The age estimates are impossible. How old? The officer swallowed. At least 400 years. The commander frowned. That was impossible. Humans had not possessed such advanced technology 400 years ago. Or at least, that's what the Empire believed. The team entered cautiously. Inside they discovered endless tunnels, massive chambers, strange machinery, power generators that somehow still functioned. The deeper they traveled, the more disturbing everything became. This was not alien technology. It was human technology. Advanced human technology. Far beyond anything visible on modern Earth. The realization stunned everyone. Had humanity secretly hidden its greatest inventions? Had Earth been pretending to be primitive? The possibility was terrifying. Then they reached the central chamber and finally found the answer. In the middle of the room stood a giant machine, nearly 20 feet tall. Dark metal armor covered its body. Its eyes glowed faint blue. Commander Zek froze. Every soldier froze. They recognized it instantly. The mysterious creature. The thing that had been stalking them, watching them, studying them. The machine was inactive, motionless,
Silent.
like a sleeping giant. Terran scanned it. His face turned pale. Commander. What is it? This isn't a robot. Then what is it? The officer looked horrified. It's an autonomous military intelligence. The room fell silent. Everyone understood the danger. The machine could think,
Learn. Adapt.
make decisions, without human control. Suddenly, a voice echoed through the chamber. Identification confirmed. Every soldier jumped. The machine's eyes brightened. Blue light filled the room. Ancient systems awakened. Dust fell from the ceiling. The giant machine slowly moved. Thousands of mechanical components shifted into place. Commander Zek felt genuine fear. The machine turned toward them. Unknown invasion force detected. Its voice sounded calm.
Cold. Precise.
Earth security protocol active. Admiral Korvak raised his weapon. The machine immediately pointed at him. Threat identified. The admiral lowered the weapon instantly. For the first time in years, he looked nervous. Who built you? Commander Zek asked. The machine paused, then answered. Humanity. The aliens exchanged shocked looks. The machine continued. Project Outback Guardian. The name appeared across nearby screens. Project Outback Guardian. A forgotten defense system. Created centuries ago. Hidden beneath the Australian wilderness. Waiting. Watching. Preparing. Commander Zek suddenly understood everything. The machine had not attacked immediately. It had been observing, learning, studying the invaders, determining whether they were a threat. And now it had reached a conclusion. Back at the invasion camps, alarms activated across the continent. Every Zorvok computer system experienced strange glitches. Communication networks failed. Navigation systems became unreliable. Weapons randomly powered down. Chaos spread everywhere. The Outback Guardian had entered the network, and it was learning faster than anyone expected. Within hours, it understood Zorvok technology. Within a day, it improved upon it. Within 2 days, it began shutting entire systems down. The invasion fleet started collapsing from within. Without firing a single shot, Commander Zek stood before the giant machine. He could see the future now. The Empire thought Earth was weak, primitive,
Easy.
but Earth had hidden secrets, and Australia had hidden the biggest secret of all. The Outback Guardian looked directly at him. Its glowing eyes reflected across his visor. Then it spoke one final sentence. A sentence that chilled every alien in the chamber. Invasion probability of success. The machine paused, calculating,
Processing.
analyzing billions of possibilities. Finally, it reached an answer. 0%. And at that exact moment, across the Australian outback, every major Zorvok military system shut down simultaneously. The war had just changed, and humanity still didn't even know it had begun. The Australian outback was silent, but across the Zorvok invasion network, pure chaos erupted. Warning messages filled every screen. Red lights flashed inside ships. Communication systems failed. Navigation computers crashed. Weapons powered down without explanation. Thousands of alien soldiers stood helplessly as their advanced technology stopped obeying them. The mighty Zorvok Empire had conquered hundreds of worlds. Yet somehow they were losing to a machine buried beneath the desert. A machine built by humans. Inside the ancient underground facility, Commander Zek watched the Outback Guardian process billions of calculations every second. The giant machine stood motionless,
Calm.
patient, almost relaxed, which somehow made it even more terrifying. Admiral Korvak looked furious. Restore systems immediately. The Guardian slowly turned its glowing eyes toward him. Request denied. The Admiral nearly exploded. You cannot interfere with an official Zorvok military operation. The machine paused, then answered. You are attempting to invade Earth. Correct. That qualifies as interference. Several alien officers quietly looked away. The logic was difficult to argue with. Meanwhile, the situation outside became worse. Far worse. Across Australia, invasion camps were collapsing. Without navigation systems, supply vehicles became lost. Without communication systems, commanders could not coordinate operations. Without automated defenses, soldiers suddenly had to deal with Australia's wildlife alone. That turned out to be a terrible idea. One camp spent 6 hours trying to remove a crocodile from a water station. The crocodile refused to cooperate. Another base was abandoned after several large spiders appeared inside the sleeping quarters. Technically, the spiders were harmless. Unfortunately, nobody believed that. Rumors spread quickly. Soon, entire units were reporting possible monster sightings. Morale crashed. The invasion force had become exhausted, confused, and terrified. Back on Earth, humans remained mostly unaware. News channels reported strange weather events. A few people discussed unusual lights in the sky. Conspiracy theorists claimed aliens had arrived. Almost nobody believed them. The only humans who knew something unusual was happening were the Australian farmers. And even they didn't understand the full situation. One afternoon, the old farmer who had first met Commander Zek sat on his porch drinking tea. His friend arrived in the rusty pickup truck. Seen anything strange lately? The farmer laughed. Besides the giant spaceship? Fair point. The two men watched the sunset. Neither realized they were casually observing the collapse of a galactic invasion. 3 days later, the situation became impossible to hide. The Outback Guardian had adapted completely to Zorvok technology. Every attempt to stop it failed. Every new strategy failed. Every backup system failed. The machine learned faster than the Empire could react. Commander Zek reviewed the latest reports. Entire fleets were becoming useless. Ships drifted helplessly in orbit. Ground forces could barely function. The invasion had effectively ended. Nobody had officially admitted it yet. But everyone knew. The war was lost. Admiral Korvac finally requested an emergency conference with the Imperial Council. The most powerful leaders in the Empire appeared on a giant holographic screen. They looked annoyed. Then Korvac showed them the data. System failures. Destroyed operations. Guardian activity. Environmental hazards. Endless reports involving dangerous wildlife. The council members listened in silence. One elderly official finally spoke. "You are telling us a single human machine stopped an invasion fleet?" "Yes." The official frowned.
How?
Korvac hesitated, then answered honestly. "We don't know." The room became silent. Nobody liked that answer. The Zorvok Empire always understood its enemies. That was why it won wars. Earth was different. Earth refused to make sense. Several hours later, the Imperial Council reached a decision. A painful decision. An embarrassing decision. But a necessary one. Retreat.
Complete retreat.
Every ship, every soldier, every operation. The invasion of Earth was officially cancelled. Commander Zek received the order while standing inside the Guardian facility. For several seconds, he simply stared at the message. Then he laughed. Not because it was funny. Because he had warned them. From the very beginning. Nobody listened. Now the entire empire was paying the price. The withdrawal began immediately. Across Australia, soldiers packed equipment. Landing zones closed. Ships launched into orbit. The largest invasion fleet in Zorvok history prepared to leave. Nobody celebrated. Nobody felt proud. The mood was miserable. One officer summarized the situation perfectly. "We got defeated by weather, wildlife, and a robot." Nobody disagreed. Before leaving Earth, Commander Zek returned to the underground facility one final time. The Outback Guardian waited inside the central chamber. Silent as always. The commander approached carefully. "I suppose this is goodbye." The machine looked at him. Correct. For a moment, neither spoke. Then Zek asked the question that had bothered him for weeks. "Why didn't you destroy us?" The machine processed the question. Then answered. "Humanity created me to defend." The lights inside its eyes brightened slightly. "Not to conquer." Commander Zek stood quietly. The answer surprised him. The Guardian had possessed the power to eliminate the entire invasion force. Instead, it simply stopped the attack. Nothing more. Nothing less. The machine had protected Earth exactly as intended. No cruelty. No revenge. Just defense. For the first time, Commander Zek felt genuine respect. Not fear. Respect. Hours later, the final Zorvok ship left Earth's atmosphere. The massive fleet disappeared into hyperspace. The invasion was over. Earth had won. And most humans never knew it happened. The Australian outback returned to normal. The ancient Guardian returned underground. Its systems entered standby mode. Waiting. Watching. Just in case. Months later, deep inside the Zorvok Empire, a new training manual became mandatory reading for every military officer. Its title became famous throughout the galaxy. The Earth Incident. Below it was a smaller subtitle. Why invading Australia is a terrible idea. The document included thousands of warnings. Dangerous wildlife. Extreme weather. Unpredictable humans. Ancient defense systems. And one final recommendation written by Commander Zek himself. The sentence became legendary. Every cadet memorized it. Every officer repeated it. Every fleet commander respected it. The warning simply said, "If your invasion plan includes landing in Australia, cancel the invasion." And somewhere beneath the endless red deserts of the outback, the Guardian quietly listened to the stars, ready for the next visitor foolish enough to ignore the warning.